Well, good morning, Michael.
morning, Joseph.
Actually, it's not morning anymore,
No,
is
it's
it?
afternoon.
Yeah, good
12
afternoon.
o'clock.
Good afternoon. We've been working at this still since the morning. Anyway, this is the Joe Fosco Show. My name is Joe Fosco. I'm here with recurring guest, Michael Magnafichi. Michael,
Morning, Joseph.
our friendly handshake that usually starts off the show. How was your weekend this past
It
weekend?
was good. I think it was good for all Chicago fans this weekend.
yeah,
We
indeed.
had that was a pretty exciting finish to a season, and now we just got one more hurdle to jump.
Wednesday, they...
Tuesday.
Was it Tuesday night? What night was it when it
Oh, Saturday night.
But I'm sorry, the night that they lost big, was it Wednesday?
When the Cubs lost?
Yes.
That was they lost 2 out of 3. They lost 2 games out in L.A.
Right.
They were shut out both games. They came back with a vengeance.
Right.
They scored 23 runs in 3 games,
Yeah.
10, 8, and 5, and they
Fabulous.
beat Kershaw, arguably the best pitcher in baseball.
Right.
And it was just. I talked to some people, a few friends of mine that were at the game. They said they never heard anything like this at any sporting event that they've been to. And these guys have been to game finals of the Bulls in Chicago, and they said nothing was as electrifying as Wrigley Field was that day. It was pretty.
I can only imagine.
Oh my God, it was unbelievable. I mean, you got people that the last time that were there, the last time the Cubs were in the World Series, 1945,
Right.
and they were 5, 6 years old, 80-year-old people in the stands, sitting there drinking beers and getting all excited, crying over this victory. It was just really something. It's going to be an exciting series. You got Cleveland that hasn't won in 68 years. The Cubs have not.
Sorry, we're a little technical
Is it okay now?
interruption, but yes, yeah.
The
fine.
Cubs haven't won in 108 years, and Cleveland hasn't won in 67 years. And now you got the two of them playing against each other. Cleveland just finally won a championship in the last 54 years this year with the Cleveland Cavaliers. And now they're going to go for baseball, out of the 4 major sports, hockey, baseball, basketball, and football. I think it's only been done a few times where a major sports team has won 2 championships in 1 year.
Sure.
So it's going to be pretty exciting to see. But the Cubs, they're looking good. The pitching is looking dominant as ever. You got Kyle Korver going in Game 1 against John Lester, who's been outstanding. Arguably could be a Cy Young winner. We don't know. He's been pitching that well. And the bats just woke up at the right time. It really was exciting. Did you watch any of it?
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. It was, I was glued to the set. And that first inning was unbelievable. They get a double, and then Bryant hits the shot down the right field line to score 1-0. They land up going 2-0 after the first inning. I mean, it was just really exciting.
At the risk of detracting from a very serious and great game, I will mention that I was watching season 1, I think, what was it, season 1, episode 29 of The Munsters. And it was ironic that Herman Munster was almost drafted by the same team that the Cubs just played.
Oh, by Cleveland?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
In the episode you're talking
yeah,
about.
well, naturally.
Yeah. Well, I thought you
And,
meant Fred Gwynn as the actor was.
No, but he hit the ball. I mean,
Oh,
if
I
you can
saw
imagine
that. I
how
saw
far
that
he hit the
episode.
ball. It was
Yeah,
8 blocks.
8 blocks over the field, yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, sorry for that.
No, that's
interruption.
That was funny because I did see a thing on Fred Gwynn they were talking about the Munsters, and they said that he would lose, like, that costume that he had to put on, that he would lose like 10 pounds of sweat.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
I need to buy a costume like that.
We all do. But it was pretty exciting, you know.
Right.
And I'm really looking forward to the series. I think the Cubs I think they'll split or get 2 games out there. That's just me being a fan. But if they get 2 games out there, I'd love to see them close it out in Chicago. I mean, it just would be unbelievably wild. It was such a good thing to see that there was no. I mean, everybody was so happy about it. The country was too. They said it was the highest rated division pennant
Very
ever.
interesting.
Yeah, they said it was because you got fans that aren't. Without a horse in the race, everybody's pulling for the Cubs. It seems like.
Well, I don't know about that. I think there are some devout Sox fans who are watching, hoping
Yeah, but
that
that's
they
here.
watch a. Oh, I see. Yeah,
That's
you're
here in
talking
Chicago. I'm talking about
national-
nationwide.
Yeah.
Other than Cleveland fans, other than the Sox fans here that want to see the Cubs fail.
Right.
The rest of the country's on the Cubs side.
Yeah,
believe
sure,
me.
sure,
They
sure.
showed statistics
Oh,
about
definitely.
it.
Yeah.
But it was pretty exciting. And then I watched a lot of football this weekend. Watched Penn State beat Ohio State. They were ranked number 2, Penn State not being ranked. I watched that game on a blocked field goal. They won it back in Happy Valley. That's for Penn State. They call their home field there. And they've had their share of issues with that Sandusky situation and all that. And that's going to be a black eye for them for a lot of years to get recruits to go there. They were talking about that a lot in a lot of the sports programs I saw. But watched a lot of NFL. Actually, I did have the Bears on a Thursday night. I mean the Bears, excuse me, Green Bay. And they just made the Bears look horrible, once again, 26-10. But Bears are playing this Monday night. I watched a lot of the Philly-Minnesota game, and Philadelphia was undefeated teams. They were the last ones. They were 5-0 now. They're 5-1. And I think they're coming down to earth. A couple weeks ago, I was saying how everybody was so excited about these teams that were doing well, and they call it overreaction Monday, that we always react to Monday. It's like we're always anointing a new player that's, he's a great rookie, he's this, and it just, you got to wait till like mid-season to see who these people, they wind up either doing incredibly horrible in the beginning and then maybe show some signs of greatness later in the year, or the opposite. They're great in the beginning and then they come down to earth. And that's what happened with Minnesota. Sam Bradford, yeah, he played the first 5 games really well, but the defense kept them in it, And I don't think that they're going to hold up Minnesota. The NFC's it looks like Dallas, to me, it looks like Dallas is going to be a contender. Green Bay looks like they're coming back. Aaron Rodgers finally found his stride. So looking forward to that, because I'd like to see Green Bay in there. If the Bears can't be in there, I'd like to see Green Bay get in there. And I know that's kind of bad for Bears fans, because we're supposed to hate them as much as Cubs fans hate Sox fans and vice versa.
Right.
But I mean, I'd rather see Green Bay in it. An uncle of mine was a Green Bay fan, and he always used to say the pack is back.
Not the one that took that fall, and you have an uncle that he fell down somewhere. He was in a facility.
No, not
okay.
that uncle. No, not that uncle. That wasn't really a blood uncle. That was just a close friend of my dad's. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah, he had that little accident. But
what was his name?
Gino.
Gino what?
DeRoy.
DeRoy.
Yeah.
He fell from
second tier
in a prison.
In a prison, yeah.
Sorry for, my mind always wanders in the most peculiar places. But
yeah, so I watched the New England game. I mean, Tom Brady missed the first 4 games of the year. He's got 6 or 8 touchdowns.
Right.
No interceptions, just unbelievable. Like, he never missed a stride. I mean, that just shows you how great this guy is. And they were talking a lot about this Josh Brown, I think his name is, from the Giants. He's the kicker. One of the better kickers in the league, field goal kicker. And the NFL, how their policy is on domestic violence. Everybody saw the tape, that Foul Sports on that Ray Rice deal when he punched his wife in the elevator. They had the tape of it. They were in Vegas. That was in 2014.
Sure, that wasn't just the elevator was not adjusted properly, caused
him to fall into her fist first. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I did see it. It was a horrible.
Yeah, and
horrible
they got
display.
married. She was his fiance,
Right.
and they got married. They had a child, but he got suspended for 2 games. The NFL has a policy that it's domestic violence, that it's an automatic 6-game suspension. So everybody was giving a lot of grief to Roger Goodell, the commissioner.
Sure.
That how could he not be that strong against this thing? This type of domestic violence and stuff. That why wouldn't you start at the 6 games, and then they're always going to appeal it, and a lot of times they wind up winning the appeal. More times than not, they win the appeal, which is not common in regular criminal things. The appeals never seem to go well for anybody that's been convicted of a crime. But they gave him a 2-game suspension. This Josh Brown. They're just finding this kicker for the Giants.
Your friend John DeFranzo's appeal went very well in the early 1990s.
Yeah, one of the few.
What Mr. Ricardo's appeal on some beef went very well.
Right, yeah. One of the few. I mean, you know how many that didn't go well in the appeal. We don't have enough time.
Right.
But they found out some things about this guy. He wrote in a journal about all the stuff he did to his wife. Kicked her, punched her, beat her.
Who is this again?
Josh Brown, the kicker for the Giants, and they gave him a 1-game suspension.
Did he say it was poetry? It wasn't real?
No, he was going through some sort of...
So he admitted what he wrote was legitimate.
Yeah, he was doing some sort of domestic violence rehab thing, and was coming clean with everything he said. Well, the NFL, they're claiming that they didn't know about it, which everybody's on their case about the fact that they did know about it. And they only gave him a 1-game suspension. Now he's suspended indefinitely. He's on the exempt list, which means he'll get cut. He'll probably never play another game in the NFL again. You know, there's a guy probably making, I don't know exactly, but I mean, one of the better kickers in the league, probably making $4 or $5 million a year. You know, they just gave him a 2-year extension out there for the Giants. But they were talking about a lot about the NFL, about the black eye they get from not, you know, treating this offense, you know, that they let this thing just get out of control. And Goodell's taking a lot of heat for it. And, you know, the NFL is, I mean, like last night's game, the Arizona game, it's just unwatchable. 6-6 tie, you know, Arizona against Seattle. Overtime, you missed. Seattle gets a chip shot field goal. Excuse me, Arizona has a chip shot field goal to win in overtime. Misses it, hits the post, hits the goal post, loses it. Seattle in turn drives it all the way down to where they got a 27-yard field goal. The guy doesn't even hit it misses the net that's behind the goalpost to keep the ball from going into the fans. And it was just unwatchable, a lot of the games. I mean, they got that game in London that's on at Sunday morning, you know, because of the time difference. It's on at like 9 in the morning. It's usually done by 12 o'clock when the regular games start.
Sure.
And, you know, the Rams and who'd they play? The Rams played, was it the Giants? I think it was the Giants, yeah. My brain's a little soft today. I got a little bit of a Cub thing going on here. I got my mind mostly set on that.
Be careful what you say about your brain. Remember Hillary Clinton said she short-circuited and caught a roasting for that for weeks and weeks.
Well,
don't say your brain is soft.
Okay, I retract my statement then, like Hillary did. I think it's a little too late for that, though. But anyway,
you're not running for president.
No, I wouldn't. Of course, I probably don't have as much baggage as they do. Right. You know, you could put me in on a write-in ticket if you want.
You know, we had someone, Peter, who just wrote in a few minutes ago, and he wants me to ask you if you ever thought of becoming an actor, doing some acting. And before you answer the question, I find it a unique question because there are a lot of actors out there that play roles of gangsters. And I know the title gangster makes you very uncomfortable and almost embarrassed that I publicly call you this. Viewers out there, this man does not ask me to call him a gangster. I refer to him as a mafioso. He's aware of it. He kind of rolls his eyes about it. He's very respectful to me based on our friendship and doesn't put up a big stink about it and understands where I'm going with it, but it does embarrass him that I refer to him as that. So I'm sorry for sort of exploiting you to some degree when I know you're uncomfortable about it, and I just still do it.
Right.
You know, you're a very kind friend.
Thank you.
Yeah, some of your colleagues probably wouldn't be as kind to...
Probably not.
Even though I did watch one time when I was having a cocktail with Johnny DeFranzo in one of his drinking establishments close to his house. Thank heavens close to his house, so he didn't have to bang up many cars driving home drunk every night. But his friend Gino Marino came in one day into the bar area with a newspaper that on a particular day where Johnny was on the cover of the Sun-Times. And he came in and he threw it down and he told Johnny he wanted his autograph. And I was surprised. Johnny just, I was waiting to see what the reaction would be to something like that. He just ignored it and picked his drink up and slurped it down as usual.
A lot different than a couple other fellows we know would react to that.
Your late friend Jack Cerone, could you imagine
kindly to that? No.
If Gino Marino or anyone walked in and demanded even in jest, demanded his autograph on a copy of a Sun-Times that his picture was...
It would not go well. The verbal hammering he would have got is not... I could only tell you what I think he would probably say, and it's not for viewers to know.
Now, you're familiar with the assassination of Chucky English in Elmwood Park, only because it's been all over the media for years.
Right.
Did you have the occasion of having dinner there the following day?
Yeah, a couple days later, yes.
Okay, you were there a couple of days later. This was in 1985.
Right.
I think, 84, 85. Somebody knows the actual year. 85, whatever. You were there with your friend?
Yeah.
It was ironic because I think since Chuck English was a gangster and was murdered in Elmwood Park, people just assumed that it was a mob hit. I mean, because Jack had the notoriety of being the underboss of the Chicago outfit, showing up at the scene of the crime,
Right.
assuming it may have been a mob hit, we don't know, right? We're not going to say we know or don't know. We're not even going to discuss what it's about. It could have been, an ex-girlfriend.
Don't know who it was.
It was Jill.
It's unsolved.
Yeah. So when you went into Horwatz with Jack Cerone, literally a day or two after Chuck English being murdered right in front of the place, did anyone say anything? Jack, did you know what happened the other day?
No.
Did you hear what happened?
Nobody said a word.
He didn't grab the waitress and say, "Did something happen here the other day?"
Walked in like like we were on Mars for the last 5 days. Didn't know anything was going on.
Mars.
Yeah, like we just parachuted down from the moon station after being on Mars and just walked in there like we didn't know what the hell was going on. And it was nobody came up to him and said anything, and why would they?
Right.
I'm sure they knew the reaction they'd get out of him.
Like putting their hand in a buzzsaw.
Well, sure, but we went right in there and continued to go. It was one of our favorite restaurants.
Sure.
So, but yeah, right.
Nobody grabbed them and said, "Hey,
No.
maybe you shouldn't come around here until the heat cools off."
No, nobody said that. Your story with Gino showing that to Johnny, I just can't see how somebody could be. You talk about short-circuiting the brain like Hillary, and I just said that my brain was a little fried. That's fried on a permanent basis to even think that that's even funny.
Yeah.
People like him don't want notoriety. I mean, that's just some reporter's opinion.
Okay. Now, getting back to Pete, our viewer who called in or wrote in about this question he has about whether or not you would ever pursue acting or do any acting. And as I was saying before I went off onto other things, what's interesting is a lot of actors play the role of gangsters. Very few do you see an actual, I hate to say it, actual now former gangster. Means you're a legitimate man today. Going into acting, I don't think I have seen it. Do you know of any people who are reputed to be gangsters that have gone into acting?
No.
Now I know in The Godfather, the big guy, what was his name?
Luca Brasi.
I've read somewhere that he was a part of some New York family, very low-level guy.
Right.
I mean, the charts, the Chicago Crime Commission always put you up there. They've got you as a lieutenant. In fact, if you remember our friend Tim and I, we used to, behind your back, refer to you as the lieutenant and joke around if you talk to the lieutenant today, based on what the Chicago Crime Commission said. And, I've heard other people indicate
I know that, sorry for interrupting you, before I get off track of what you're saying, that with The Sopranos was on the guy that played, what was his name, Paul, the guy with the gray, all sides were gray. I guess that he was, like you said, that the actor that played Luca Brasi,
right, yes.
He was involved with some people, and I guess he had it in his contract that he would do the part, play the part as Paulie Walnuts, and but he refused to be ever portrayed as a stool pigeon. In the thing, they could not write him, write a script to where his character would be a stool pigeon. That was in his contract, that it could never be like that.
Right.
He just didn't want it, but he was supposed to be a part of something. But
interesting.
I haven't heard too many other. I know a lot of ex-cops. Dennis Farina was a Chicago cop that played gangsters in a lot of films.
Oh, well, Dennis Farina was a police officer. He wasn't a gangster.
Right, but he played...
Although he probably knew gangsters.
Yeah, being in Chicago. I mean,
it's hard to not even accidentally bump into one every now and then.
He started with that TV series Crime Stories, I think it was. Wasn't that supposed to be based in Chicago? I don't remember too much about it. I think it was in the late 70s, early 80s. But then he played hoodlums in a lot of...
An associate of ours, Richard Warner, just wrote in Michael Spilatro played in Magnum P.I.
Yeah, he played in Black Sheep Squadron, too.
Oh, did he?
Yeah.
Yes.
He was friends with Bob Conrad. I forgot.
Oh, right, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, he was friends with Bob Conrad. He played in a couple episodes of Black Sheep Squadron.
Yeah. His contract was canceled.
Who was that?
Michael Spilotro.
Oh, yeah.
His and his brother's contract.
Yeah.
They were both canceled.
I guess so.
Do you ever think or worry that your contract will be canceled since you've deviated from being who you were for many years to now doing sports podcasts?
Well, I'm talking about sports and innocent stories. I don't have any stories to share that I think would be offensive to anybody. You know, it's all in a very admiring way of, you know, people that I was around. I don't think it's bad.
So getting back to Pete's question, would you ever do any acting?
Who would want me to be an actor? I'm 50.
Well, you could. I think you'd be great on is General Hospital still on, or is it One Life to Live? The one that took place in Pine Valley, All My Children. That's off the air.
Oh, is it?
Would you ever do anything like that?
Well, sure, I would entertain the thought of doing it.
could
I don't
be
know if I'd be any good.
Yeah,
It's hard enough for me to get through the podcast there without.
Well, you get to, they.
You get to do a lot of takes.
Yeah, a lot of takes,
Right.
and they.
Yeah, I'm sure I would, but I don't know who.
Maybe we'll try to market you into soap opera or something. You could. If General, I don't know what's still on the air. If General Hospital's still on the air, and
I
if
don't
they
know.
had that gangster Sonny Corinthos, maybe you could come on as one of his rival gang member gangsters.
How come you don't
snuff
think I
them out
could
or
play a
something.
brain surgeon or something like that?
In Hollywood you could play anything.
Yeah, well, I'd be more comfortable with that. You know, I don't know why you'd typecast me. Most actors don't like to be typecasted.
Well, I beg your pardon. Yeah, you're right. Shame on me.
They talk about the Seinfeld show, which is my favorite sitcom of all time. They say that the actors on that, they call it the Seinfeld curse, because Jason Alexander, Michael Richards, Julie Louise-Dreyfus, I guess she's a big Chicago fan. I didn't know she was. I think she's
Chicago fan.
Chicago Cub fan.
Oh, okay.
I think she was they were talking about her being, tweeting about the Cubs.
Oh.
Cusack and all that. John Cusack, Bill Murray, obviously,
Right,
major Cub fan. But they talk about the Seinfeld curse, saying it was so hard for them to get work after that because they were just known as George, Elaine, and Kramer. Even Jerry Seinfeld, he's tried a couple things, to do some other sitcoms and stuff, and they were unsuccessful, But they call it a curse that once you get that. But it was so successful. I mean, I don't know what they were making per episode. I think they were getting 800,000 or $1 million an episode.
It's a shame they were
And they call
that small of an amount of money.
Yeah, right. And you're on for 9 years, and you call that a curse.
Yes.
That's the type of curse I think we'd all like to have.
Well, I think the Dreyfus gal comes from some serious wealth.
Is she related to Richard Dreyfus?
No, I don't believe so. And then that's not where I was going. I believe her family were extremely well-to-do people.
Right.
Where her father died recently. And
Right.
From what I understand, things I've read, her financial holdings were very significant. What's going on?
Nothing. We got basketball coming up this weekend. Starts actually tomorrow night, I believe, is opening night for the basketball season. They showed Dwayne Wade and Jimmy Butler at a couple Cubs games, or at least one, I'm pretty sure of. And they were talking about in the paper, I guess, that he wants to throw out the dude like Scottie Pippen did. I guess he threw out the first pitch in a couple games, and Dwayne Wade was saying he'd like to do that. He was saying how grateful he was that the timing of this free agency that allowed him to become a Chicago Bulls at the time right now when the Cubs are on the brink of winning the World Series. He said that was pretty exciting for him, being a Chicago guy himself. And he won 3 championships in Miami. And, you got Rajon Rondo, him, and Jimmy Butler. They're going to be, I think the Bulls are going to be something to be dealt with. I think I said on the last podcast that I figured them for, at least a top 4 seed. Most likely a 3, 4, maybe 5 seed in the East. And I still stand by that, barring injuries. Dwayne Wade's got a lot of miles on them legs of his. But we'll see what happens. I'm looking forward to the basketball season, too. You got the Hawks that are playing okay, 3-3, but nobody's lighting the division up yet. So they're going to be something to be contended with, too. I'm looking forward to that. But other than that, I'm looking forward to this Cubs series. I mean, I'm really going to be
very exciting.
Very exciting. Could you imagine how great it'd be not if they win it, when they win it. I'm saying they're going to win it. I just like them to win it in Chicago.
Yes.
You know, win a couple games out there, or at least one, and then come here and sweep the series after that. And they're a good road team. You saw what in LA they won 2 out of the last 3 to get back here to when they were down 2-1 to clinch Game 6. You know, so that was pretty exciting. So I'm looking forward to that. They get the Bears on Monday night this week coming up. They don't know who's going to be the quarterback.
That would be tonight.
No, not this Monday. Next Monday.
Oh, okay.
Tonight, Denver's playing Houston, and they're at Denver, and Houston's got the quarterback. I forget his name. He's the one that when Peyton Manning went down last year. Geez, I can't think of his name right now. But when he went down last year, he came in and did really well for them, just to get benched to let Peyton Manning, be the guy in the playoffs and eventually win the Super Bowl. So he's going back to Denver, so he'll want to try to prove something that you made the wrong. It was over a contract dispute. John Elway is a pretty sharp GM, CEO of that team there. He just didn't feel like that the money this guy was looking for was worth it, and he seems to be proving it pretty well.
Sure.
They're leading in the AFC West out there, so it'll be pretty exciting tonight to see.
Indeed. Do you have any picks you want to
I
rattle
do.
off?
Sure, I have this week. Well, tonight I like Denver minus the 6. I like Jacksonville against Tennessee. I watched a little bit of that game yesterday. Tennessee just looks terrible. So does Jacksonville, though, but I like Jacksonville. I like New England minus the 6. I just don't see anybody stopping them right now. They're just playing unbelievable. And I'm going to go with the Packers, plus the 3 points. I think that they're playing good. I think Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady, 2 best quarterbacks in the NFL. Rodgers was stumbling a little bit. Actually, the last season he had, by any quarterback standards, was an outstanding year. I think he was 33 touchdowns and 8 interceptions. But by his standards, it's an off year.
Do you feel like doing a little game? Would you call in a bet to Tony Doty? Would he take some of your action? Maybe? Oh, wait, that would not be legal, would it?
No.
Yeah, so we wouldn't
I don't even
do
know
that.
anybody that does that anymore. If I was going to do anything betting, I'd do legal.
Yeah, of course.
On the thing. On the computer, like everybody else does these days. They got the fantasy football and everything. And like I was saying with the NFL, if it wasn't for fantasy football and these fan dunes or whatever it's called, all these sports betting things, they would be really down in their ratings. They're not getting the ratings they used to be. They've cut them. The rules have changed that you can't hit the head-to-head contact. That used to be the exciting thing about football. People watched and loved to see massive hits, and they cut that out now. They're getting suspended for it. Big fines are going out, but you're finding guys that are making $10 million a year, and you're finding them $25,000. Does that deter them from doing it? When you suspend them for a game, it's a game check. So if you make it $10 million a year, you figure it out. It might cost somebody $800,000. They might be making per game.
$25,000 isn't much. I mean,
No.
Tiger Wood was writing checks out for $50,000 at a crack for things that I would rather not say here. But
Right.
use your imagination. It was been published in other places.
Right.
Yeah. So I mean, it's.
Yeah, I mean the money is just ridiculous, and in the NFL too, there's no guaranteed contracts.
Right.
You get X amount of dollars. You sign a contract like Cutler has for 70-something million. There's only a certain amount of that that's guaranteed. There's so many clauses in there over injury that they don't have to pay. Other things, but not like basketball and baseball that you're guaranteed the money.
How are we doing? Are we done with sports?
Yeah.
There was one thing we were going to talk about because of the current affairs being the presidential election, going back to late 1940s, perhaps 1948, when Truman ran against
Dewey.
Yeah, Dewey. Didn't Jack Cerone, the now late Jack Cerone, place a bet on that election?
He did. He told me the story that he bet on Truman. I guess Truman was like a 10-1 underdog. Back then, I guess, believe it or not, the elections were, every 4 years. It wasn't like today you don't hear about anybody betting the election. Well, I mean, now in Vegas you could bet on anything. You could probably bet on who wins the ratings on a debate. Who knows? I don't know. They got so many prop bets that anything could be possible out there. But he bet bet 5,000 on Dewey and won $50,000. 10-1 odds.
In 48.
In 48. What was $50,000 like in 48? $50,000's a lot of money in any year.
Yeah.
But back then it had to be like winning, $1 million today.
Close to it,
Right?
probably.
I mean,
$500,000, probably.
$500,000. And
Maybe $1 million.
I always speculated, you and I were talking, these, the papers the next day, they printed it that night, and they jumped the gun by saying Dewey wins. I just wonder if Jack knew who the winner really was.
Well, that's what I was going to say. Jack Cerone being who he was, a prominent organized crime member in Chicago, where the Chicago machine has been around for a long time. Or was the Chicago machine around in the 40s? Was it considered a machine in the 40s? I don't know. But there were various machines. There were all different political machines that have lived in the city of Chicago. Maybe the election was fixed. I mean, there's been a lot of controversy and speculation about fixed elections with the Kennedy election. A lot of people speculated there was it was rigged to some degree, and with respect to Chicago's involvement, who knows? I just recommend that anyone voting in this upcoming election really, be vigilant and keep your eyes on everything at the voting polls.
Well, aren't they?
Report anything you see that looks suspicious or questionable.
Isn't Trump alleging that Hillary is, going to?
He's alleging, I think, very generally that the entire race is rigged, the whole election.
Right.
Through because of the media isn't reporting a lot of things they should be, underreporting things with respect to her behaviors, over-reporting things with respect to his, and a whole litany of other things he points out is his to base his argument that there's some rigging going on. So interesting story that Jack placed a bet like that, and there was someone who told me once that Jack was betting on boxing matches several years ago, and that he would predict who was going to win the boxing matches, and his predictions always came true. And the Cerones, especially the old man, who was always thought of as a very smart guy. Based on that, I don't think that he would make a bet unless he thought he was going to win and never knew that he was going to win. So perhaps that's an interesting thing.
Yeah, well, back in those days, it was always
Truman
alleged
election. And look what Truman did for certain people in organized crime.
Yeah.
He commuted sentences for quite a bit of Chicago people. Organized crime figures, major organized crime figures. Anyway, well, it was nice talking to you.
It was great talking to you again.
Thanks for coming back.
Always be back next Monday.
Anything you want to say, or
no? That's about it. I'm gonna
you want to look in the camera and say hello to anybody out there?
No,
Any
just
special person.
I'm gonna get a hold of my agent and see if this acting thing has got any.
Okay.
Picking up any steam. Maybe we will talk to my agent.
Yeah, we've got to find one.
We got to find. Oh, that's what we have to do. Yeah.
I'll be your acting agent until
we
get a real agent.
Yeah, well, sure.
Yeah, I'll look into it. I've got a big phone book at home. I'll look under A for agent and see what I could find. And
okay.
I'll keep you posted.
Sounds good.
See you next week.
You got it, Joseph.